everyone. Welcome to today's reading. We are doing a pick a card on how people currently see you. So, just a quick preface before the reading, how people see us versus how we see ourselves. There does tend to be a gap in perception there, so I wouldn't overly internalize some of the things that come up just in case they don't align with the totality of your personhood. But if you do like today's reading, be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. Please comment, guys. But onto the piles. Pile 1 is going to be this green aventurine crystal. Pile 2, the malachite. Pile 3 is going to be this stone here that I don't remember the name of. And pile 4 is going to be the clear quartz crystal here. So if you need more time to decide, you know what to do. Other than that, I will meet you at your pile. Hi, Group 1. So let's see how people currently see you. We have the Ace of Wands, the Page of Wands, the Five of Swords, the Three of Wands, the Six of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune, Well-Deserved Reward, Door to Romance, Broken Heart, Inner Child, Awakening Your True Self, Quiet Time in Reverse, Look Inside Yourself. So straight away, I definitely feel like people perceive a certain youthfulness, a childlike whimsy about you. You could have always gotten that you look a little bit younger than your age, or if that's not the case, you could genuinely be a young person, but there's definitely like a youthfulness of spirit. I think you may have like interests that are, perhaps you like animation or cartoons. I definitely get a creative vibe from this pile as well. Like, it could be new, a new creative interest that you've recently tapped into. Ceramics and pottery is coming through, or just something with your hands specifically. So it's definitely like arts and crafts, and you may have even started taking a class in that, and there's people there that's at the center of this reading as well. But there's also something about warmth that I'm getting with how people perceive you. There's definitely a warmth of spirit that you have and personality. There's, with a lot of the reds, orange, and yellows coming through, I feel like not only just in a personality aspect, but there could be a genuine warmth to your hair or to your skin. Like perhaps you have warm undertones. Maybe you like to dress in these reddy or orange colors, or you really like the autumn season, or this summer autumn season is going to be significant to how people are perceiving you. You could be on the shorter side as well, because there's something, and your stature, there's something about your stature that feels a little bit smaller, but like in your smallness, like you pack a lot of punch. I think there's something very gentle about you too. Like there's an earnestness that people note about you, and you're definitely someone that people see to follow like their whims, their interests, their passions. Yes, like there's something very passionate about you. I feel like people are noticing that you could have just come out of a time period where you were more introverted. Perhaps you've mostly been an introverted person, but you're coming into this era in life where you're finally starting to blossom. And maybe it's been a long time coming for you guys as well, but with quiet time in reverse, I think some of you guys are like learning to use your voice. And perhaps you weren't someone that was very direct and vocal before, and so now in you coming out of your shell a bit more, it's ruffling people's feathers. And they could be confused about your motivations and interests at this current time because they're not used to relating to you in that way. And, people could also have underestimated you, and there may still be an element of that with all of this childlike energy coming through as well, because perhaps you are a younger sibling. Yeah, there's something about that. Like there's you could have had a mentor too, and so you could have always been in the position of subordinate, and I think you're wanting to go out on your own, or you're like breaking into a new path, and it's still in the beginning stages. It's very new. You're still getting acquainted with yourself outside of like where you were before. I think people perceive you, there's kind of like a hopeless romantic energy about you, but not in that like watery and willowy way, because I'm feeling something very like passionate and kind of Martian about you guys. Like you're extending yourselves. So I feel like if you feel something, you just have to see it through. And I think that's the earnestness that people do admire in you. You aren't really afraid to go after different opportunities or put yourself out there or try your hand at an activity and see how it goes. And I think people may have perceived you to receive like some yeses and also some nos, but I think you're coming through as the type of person that where if you got knocked down or if you get knocked down, you've popped back up like almost instantaneously and just were like, okay, we're on to the next hobby now. And that's what people are noting about you. You may not be the strongest communicator that's coming through, so you could like have foot and mouth syndrome that people are kind of like, or people assume that about you, where in large groups sometimes you may like step on other people's toes. You're being seen as recently getting your footing. I think you are starting off brand new, starting from scratch in some aspect, and that's coming through as super notable. And in you starting from scratch, because you're new, you're still kind of stumbling about, and sometimes you may be rubbing people the wrong way, but I definitely don't feel like that's your intention. I think people also perceive you to have, and perhaps you directly work with children but have some type of connection to children. You could have had a tough childhood that some people know about you, and so you've kind of made it like maybe even an unspoken but personal mission to like be like a safe adult for people, or to not extend that energy into the world towards children. And I think you also admire, that pureness of energy and that closeness to source that we have when we're young. And I think you're trying to revisit that and do things that connect you back to that energy, especially if you are recovering from a broken heart, quite literally. I do think people see you as someone who is flirtatious with door to romance. Like you are interested in connecting romantically, and you're not someone who guards your heart in that regard, even if you have been hurt with the broken heart card. I think because some people may see that childlike energy about you, I think there's an openness that you come with, and you're just like ready to treat everyone like it's your first time meeting them, and you're not bringing your past preconceived notions about what you've experienced into the situation. And some people may have attempted to weaponize that against you, and so that may be something to be aware of in how people perceive you. But I do feel like as well, just in your life, people can see you as more or less a type B person, and I do feel like there's something more unplanned about you, and you just kind of do stuff and people perceive you as someone who's just doing stuff. And this is like the pile of the side quest, but some people may see it as like you're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall a little bit. But in time, there does prove to be a method to your madness with well-deserved reward. And with the Wheel of Fortune, you could be kind of lucky and things kind of just turn in your favor in a way, because it seems as though you may like find yourself in some precarious situations where people like, I don't know how they're gonna get themselves out of this one, and it ends up working out for you. But you could also like to say you like your alone time and you may need some time to recharge, but there's something a little tongue-in-cheek about that with quiet time in reverse as well. You could have a loud voice or like laugh, like there's something kind of like bellowous about it, but it just makes me think of this guy I worked with before. He's like very talkative and funny and friendly, but he would always be like, oh guys, like I'm like so shy and like introverted, and you guys know I'm super shy, right? And we would be like, we don't know that about you. And so perhaps you could be someone who's like, oh, I really like my alone time and I really like my quiet time, but you're also like at the next like event or something, and the next mixer or whatever. And so there's something kind of like funny about you where you're like, oh yeah, I'm super reserved, but I think you're very dynamic as a person. It's very like it's a very like young energy, very pure type of energy, even though I don't like the word pure. But it makes me think of Aries and Leo specifically coming through. Like I said, there's something quite Martian about you, but yeah, people perceive you as having this sprightly energy. There is something very warm about you and friendly. I think you're kind of like an endless giver. If you're able to help or be a part of something, you definitely don't mind. You may put your foot in your mouth sometimes unintentionally, or people just don't necessarily know how to perceive someone being that open, so people may misconstrue your intentions, but I think your heart is always in the right place. I think people see you as trying your hand at a bunch of different things, and in doing that you're learning more about yourself. I think people are seeing you as someone who's coming out of their shell a little bit more and more over time, and you're gaining this newfound confidence. You may be ready to date and flirt more if you are coming out of a relationship where you were just to yourself. I think people know that you could have had like a hurtful past in your childhood, and you're just trying to break those cycles as well. So group one, if you like that reading, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I loved you guys' energy. You guys seem super fun. Hello group two. So let's see how people are currently viewing you. We have the Ace of Swords, the Knight of Swords, the King of Swords, the Death card, the Seven of Wands, take the lead, blossoming abundance, feeling safe, honoring your true feelings, making new friends, beauty, the Temple Path, cornucopia, and victory. Okay, so group two, people see you as someone who does not play. You don't mince your words for anyone. You wouldn't stumble on your words like I did just a second ago. I think there's something that's being really highlighted here about like your intelligence and your quick wit. With the Ace of Swords going to the Knight of Swords going to the King, we completely skipped the Queen of Swords here. I feel like people see you as someone who is a quick learner. Like you can catch on to things really, really quickly, and the way your skill set can sharpen is really impressive. So I think there's something about communication that people notice about you. There is something kind of defensive as well, but I keep hearing like on point, and just look at all the swords coming through. So you may be someone who people perceive as having like a very critical eye. Like there's not many things that can get past you as well. I'm seeing a vertical line, so you could be someone who's really tall. Perhaps you're lanky as well, or there's something significant about your hair. I'm getting olive skin, but I'm also seeing a lot of cool tones as well. And there's like a stark contrast as well that could be prominent that people notice about you. But I feel like you are someone who people know to give their honest opinion. Like if someone wants to hear the truth, they know that they can get it from you. And even though you are someone, like I said, that people perceive as someone who doesn't play, I feel like you're not mean. I don't think you're a cruel person in any sense of the word. I think you're someone who's just very direct. You like to know where someone else is coming from, and you make it very clear where you stand and what you think. I feel like with feeling safe, you are someone with a very strong foundation, especially with a lot of the cornucopia, blossoming abundance coming through. People perceive you as having a lot of resources, or that your work, whatever you do, it brings you in a lot of abundance. I also feel like people see you as someone who has a very fixed and set destiny. So you could already like have your career, like she's running, you know what you're doing, you're making a good income. And if you're not like in your final like last stop job, you're working towards that, and people see you as someone with a very fixed vision. You also could have a place where people see it as the center of like y'all's little community. So perhaps it's your house where gatherings are thrown. You like hosting people, especially with making new friends. That's why like, even though you are very like sharp and you're very to the point, you are a sociable person. You definitely like communicating with others. You could like forums or chat rooms, or writing. There is something significant about writing. But I feel like you're someone, as quick as you are to make friends, you don't really tolerate a lot of like funny business, and you are quick to cut people off. People can see you as a little bit on go. Perhaps you are perceived as like sarcastic, or there's something very dry about your communication style. So some people may not really know how to take what it is that you say. But I feel like you learned really early on that it's better to just say what it is that you think, and it makes it very safe for you. Yeah, with feeling safe here as well. You really value your emotional security and you don't like holding things inside because perhaps that tends to fester, because I do think you are a very intellectual person, and not just in intelligence, but you may be someone who's prone to ruminating if you were to hold something inside for too long. So that's why you just like to get clear and get it off your chest. What's also notable about you is your beauty. People think you look beauty. They I also, there's something like air sign-esque about you. I'm getting Gemini strongly. I'm also getting Aquarius too. Libra could be here, of course, as well. But there's something about how you put yourself together. You could be fashion oriented, so you have a very distinct set of style. I'm also getting something about like pairing like business casual pieces, but like very artfully, or in a casual way. So you may like wear button downs, or you like the whole like office siren thing, but it's not directly that as well, because it's like a cool sensuality. I think people would perceive you as cool. um your walls are not easily penetrable, and so people find that intriguing as well. But you also are someone who doesn't, you don't mind giving to people or sharing your abundance, because it seems like you are doing really well for yourself. Um, yeah, there may have been a drastic change that you've taken in your career, in your life, and that's what you've severed a part of your old self. There is also something here about, like, especially if you are in a female body, about subverting gender roles. Like, you're obviously considered very beautiful, but there is like in your energy, like there's like that juxtaposition, like your physical form, if you're in a female body, compared to like what people would consider as masculine traits. Like perhaps you are, if you're in a relationship, you could be the breadwinner of your household, or you're a woman and you definitely don't adhere to the social norms of like being a little bit more deferential in conversation and meeker. I think you definitely don't mind being the first one to initiate things or conversation, or you're not going to like file down your thoughts to get along to go along in a conversation. You may also be a woman that works around a lot of men, and you feel like you have to kind of present yourself a little bit more like cooler and sharper and a lot more succinct with your thoughts. And so that's kind of what's honed this like sharpness. Like, this is like a Queen of Swords energy, even though she's not here. But yeah, there sometimes you may feel like you can't even be like in personality super traditionally feminine. You could read feminist literature, or it means something to you to make sure that, no, I'm speaking my mind. I'm not going to take on the traits that you may think I should just because I look a certain way. And in that, I also feel like you extend that to other people in your vicinity as well. Even if you're not a woman, I think you're very protective over other people around you, people that you care about. You could be like a very like protective friend, like, oh no, you need to cut that person off, or I have your back if you need help with this, that, or the third. I think people notice that about you. So especially with Take the Lead, like people follow your lead. You could be in a leadership position in work, or you're going into that at some point as well. People also could perceive you as having a sort of remote quality about yourself as well. Like you are someone who engages in social circles. You do make a lot of friends. You could be a part of a lot of different groups as well, or you have a lot of different friend groups and you like to intermingle them as well. But even in that, there's still something always kind of remote about you. Perhaps you are someone that kind of, even when you're in a group, you kind of enjoy just like being in the group setting, but kind of hanging back and observing everything as well. But people perceive you with blossoming abundance as someone who is reaping a lot of harvest, like, and it could be off of the backs of your thoughts. I feel like people see you as someone who has a very distinct plan. um yeah, you may like enjoy back and forth banter. You definitely need conversation. I think you like learning about new things. With the death card, there's like scorpionic energy coming through as well. And you don't necessarily have to be a Scorpio, but you could have Pluto in one of your prominent outward facing houses. So, like the first, seventh, 10th, or fourth house. So, there's something scorpionic that people perceive about you. So, people could like say you're a little bit mysterious. Like there's something murky about you that isn't completely revealed yet. And I feel like people can say that you can like turn on a dime, like in terms of like your conversation, where you can like really up the ante in terms of like saying what it is that you think. I think there is something about you that likes investigating things and like getting underneath the surface. So you could like watching like documentaries or reading a lot of different articles and things like that that people also find interesting about you. But yeah, I feel like what's being highlighted is like your really sharp intellect. I think you're quite funny and it's unexpected, because I think people perceive you to have a very like cool demeanor, and then you'll just say something like really off the cuff and people enjoy that about you. And I think that's also why you make a lot of friends, because in terms of not just saying how you feel in terms of like being like, oh, blunt, but I think people also, you say like the quiet things out loud in terms of humorous things, and so people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like this person said that, they're hilarious. And people may also really enjoy your style, and you may be like revered or even looked up to as kind of like a style aspiration with beauty. So, and yeah, there's something about length, like something elongated. So maybe you wear a lot of like long silhouettes, flowy things. um yeah, it's actually making me think of my friend. She's quite this way. But yeah, if this reading resonated with you, people think you're a badass. I also think you're kind of a bit of a badass. So yeah, if you like this reading, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, group 3. So let's see how people currently see you. We have the Hangman, the Empress, the Star, the Hermit, the Nine of Swords reversed. Healing begins, laughter, make music, kick up your heels, problem resolved, inner power, storm warning, appreciation, and yin yang. So when I was playing your cards, like I just got the feeling that you guys are really loved. Like people really do like you. I think people see you as incredibly beautiful. There's something like iridescent about you as well, like very shiny and glowy, and something special. In fact, you guys may do something on the internet and have some sort of prominence as well. But I feel like people note there is something quite artistic about you. I think you guys have a jovial energy. You come across very fun loving, very creative. There's like an inner an inner source of strength that you guys have. But I feel like people do wonder, because I do think you guys lean into that go lucky energy, at least at this time, especially if you did come off of a situation that was not so go lucky, which it looks like with storm warning and the Hangman as well, that perhaps you're using this jovial energy as kind of like a veneer or a mask. Like you don't want to talk about what happened in the past. I think people see you as like, as friendly and like loving as you guys are, there's still something far away about you. Yeah, people kind of note this unattainable quality to you, even though I do feel like people also see you as someone who likes to create a space for people to go to feel comfortable. There's something about you like distilling information as well to others. Um, yeah, but with problem resolved, I feel like people also see you as someone who's going to say, like, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me. Even if perhaps you may be dealing with things personally that you don't want to share with others. I think you're known as someone who likes to empower people around you. But it's like with Storm Warning, perhaps people sense that there's this emotionality about you that just lies just right beneath the surface, that you really keep contained. Um, or perhaps like um, you help avert emotional crises in others. So perhaps you could work with people in like with the Nine of Swords reverse in quelling their anxieties, their fears, or you help them solve personal issues. Perhaps you could be a healer. Yeah, I didn't think about that. You could help with counseling, or you could work in the medical field. So a lot of people really lay a lot of their heavy issues onto you. And I think sometimes you may internalize those things, or you could be the type of person where you take your work home with you in a sense a little bit, or like you think about it, and but you're kind of restrained through your position with the hangman in terms of not being able to go too far out of your bounds here. And perhaps that's why you are someone that really prioritizes lightness, happiness, finding time to laugh, and enjoy life and kick your feet up as well. But if you don't necessarily work in like a healing field directly, with the make music card and the Empress, you could create things, or your music, or if you don't make music, the art that you create, you could showcase it online, or people have an ability to see it, and they could find your work to be a real source of healing for them. And a lot of releases is found, or even just some joy if you create things that are more like lighthearted, especially with the star coming through as well. I think whatever you do, your energy is considered quite healing. People see you as someone who puts a lot of their like love and a lot of themselves into what they do and what they create. And so there's like a little bit of magic in that. I feel like people also notice that you are someone who you don't take the little things in life for granted. Perhaps you have seen a lot of like dire situations, or times where there isn't a lot of abundance, and you've kind of moved into a place, or you're moving into a place where you're more fortunate. And so you still can enjoy the little things, you still can stop and smell the roses. I feel like even if you have a lot of resources, or you've accumulated a lot of resources, you're not someone who's just like frivolous with your resources. I think people notice that about you as well. With yin and yang, you have a good balance within yourself, and also within your femininity and masculinity. People notice that you have a good balance in that expression as well. Like with Storm Warning, I feel like if you need to be firm with people, people notice that you can be firm, but you can also be gentle and nurturing. So people don't see you as someone who, you know, can be easily messed with or rattled with the Nine of Swords reverse. So even if you do struggle with like internal anxiety and fear, I think you have a really good face that you put on, where you don't really seem phased by crises or little bumps in the road. So yeah, especially if you are a healer, like you do make the people that you care for feel really safe and at ease. And if you aren't even a healer, I think you just have healer like energy. You could be someone that likes to tell people to kick their feet ups, and you like doing the magic behind the scenes and giving people a really fun experience and resolving people's issues. And I think you have a really strong core. I don't know why I said it that way. So maybe you do like to work on your fitness, and you do a lot of core exercises to have internal strength. And yeah, that's right over inner power. So your solar plexus could be strong. You could be a Leo. I'm getting Aquarius. I also see Taurus and Libra here as well. But you make sure that you're internally strong, and perhaps you feel internal strength from working on your body physically. So there could be something about your body that is notable. There is something also about being a little curvaceous, or the outer abundance in your life is reflected in the abundance of your physique, which sounds weird to say, but I feel like people notice that about you as well. You could also be seen as kind of like a hippie like person, so kind of carefree. People may see you as someone who's like a bit more on the woo-woo side, but you still are pretty grounded. So people like your perspective on things because you're going to show them the positive side. You're going to crack a joke. You're going to see all the different perspectives of the situation, and you're not super reactive. You're going to think about things first, with storm warning as well. You're going to have a balanced perspective of like what could go right and what could go wrong. You don't lean too far in either direction. Um, yeah, I feel like people just see you as someone who is dependable. You're very caring, you're very knowing. They do see you as someone who kind of like gets instant like insight as well, and it may help in your work where it in a way people are like, how did you come up with that? And there is kind of a divine element where people see you as having like, I don't know, like you may like get the joke poked at you like, oh, you're kind of psychic, and things like that. So yeah, group 3, that's what I had for you. If you like this reading, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next reading. Bye-bye. Hi, group 4. So let's see how people currently see you. So we have the King of Wands, 4 of Cups, King of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, 3 of Cups, Page of Cups, Knight of Cups, Door to Value, Financial Flow, Master, Spread Your Wings, Body Movement, Environmental Awareness, Peace of Mind, Moving Forward Fearlessly, Goddess of the Moon, Happy Family, and Envy. So a lot of cards came out for you guys. I definitely feel like people see you as someone who's like not afraid to get after it. Like if you want something, you're definitely going to put all your energy behind it. In a way, you're also someone who people feel like is very direct in your opinion and your thoughts. It's kind of similar to group 2, but this is kind of coming through as more of like the masculine expression of that pile, just in case you were drawn to that one as well. But it seems as though like people see you as kind of like the center of your community. I think you're seen as being a bit popular, or you know a lot of people, you have a lot of connections. I do feel like people see you as kind of jovial. You have access to a lot of abundance and wealth. Perhaps you come from like a what people would consider a quote unquote good family. Your family could have access to a lot of resources, but there's also, I don't know, there's a few different expressions, so I'm going to do my best to try and go through them. But I feel like on one end, I'm seeing someone who's like built themselves up in life in a certain way. They have a lot of resources, and it's like they're kind of discontent with like where they are. Like they've gotten a little bit bored, and they're looking for something that's going to make them feel, alive again, or, that just like honest love of something. You may be someone who's like a workaholic, and you're good at your job. You make a lot of money in what you do, or you see a lot of positive feedback in your career. But it seems like you're trying to go down like a pile 1 path and scrap it all. And like, you're like, I don't care that I'm a CEO. I want to finger paint now. But for others of you, if you're like on the more younger, not so established end of the spectrum, I feel like you could be sandwiched between 2 people who are kind of like trying to push, for lack of a better way of saying it, like your destiny in a certain type of direction. It's like your parents may be quite vocal about you, even if you're like an adult, like their opinions on like what you should do next. Perhaps you kind of like inherited, or you're expected to inherit like a family business, or you could have 2, supervisors or people above you that put a lot of work on your plate. So you have a lot of responsibilities. I think people see you as someone who works a really high-powered job, or is being set up to do that. I feel like you're seen as someone who knows how to take control of a situation and command the room when necessary. You're also like quite regulated when it comes to facing your responsibilities, but just as much as you work hard, you're kind of considered someone who plays just as hard. I think you do like to party. Perhaps you're known to like go to like, I don't know, have a drink in a social setting or something like that. But I also, yeah, there is something about like parties and events and like music and dancing with body movement. You may be someone who really likes to be active. You may like dancing. That may be a very specific way that you like to let off steam. I also feel like people are how some people they view as someone who finds a lot of their peace and calmness in nature. I think people see you as someone who has like a special connection with animals. You may have a lot of animals yourself, or you just like being around them. Yeah, you could be more like nature oriented. Also, yeah, and you could know your way around an environment. Like you have a really good photographic memory, so you don't necessarily need a map, or there's something about that. Also, you could be on the receiving end of a lot of jealousy, especially because how people see you, it's being highlighted that you're more or less a front facing person. Or, if this is a family business, you're a part of that, and people perceive you as being primed to take on a leadership role eventually. And so it just seems like people see that you have a lot of access to things and there's abundance, or people perceive you to be on the path to having a lot of abundance in the future, and it triggers a lot of insecurity and envy in them. And so there may be people around you that aren't necessarily super happy for you, and that's also coming through in just the way that you're being perceived as well, because like there is something about like people see you having a lot of opportunity ahead of you and perceiving you as dissatisfied with that, and kind of framing you as like a little ungrateful or feeling a little baffled if you are wanting to deviate from what you've been doing so far. Because with master and spread your wings, I feel like you have reached a certain height, or if you are still rather young and with your family, and maybe even if you've built yourself up in a certain way, I think you're wanting to like spread your wings in a different direction. Like you have a new idea and you still feel like it could be profitable for you, but it's just different than what you've been doing. And perhaps you've been tied to where you've been for a really long time, or your family has, like there's roots here, and you just want to like divvy off and do something else where this will be a completely new playing field. But you're moving forward fearlessly, and you believe in it with Goddess of the Moon. It's like something internal, an internal drive to go after your dreams. But this person, or the way these people are viewing you, they may view you as like throwing away something that's not broken. You want to fix it in a certain type of way. But there is also something that's being highlighted about how you move your body that people really take note of and find attractive. I think you may move with a lot of power, especially with moving forward fearlessly. Like they like how you hold yourself. Your walk is also being highlighted, that people find like really attractive. Capricorn energy is coming through as well. So like Capricorns, as they get older, they definitely become less and less bridled and like doing things. They like to indulge and have fun. And I definitely feel like that's being highlighted about you. I think with peace of mind as well, like you are a very like level-headed person. And I think you are friendly. You like to have a good time. I think you do come from like a good family, or you're creating a really nice chosen family for yourself, but you are ready to like, you're at a crossroads point, and you're ready to take the next step for yourself. Like people see you as someone who's like, you're following your desire, and people may think that it's frivolous because they can't see the end goal of it yet, which is why I feel like this pile is like in a way like making a circle with pile 1, because that's like where they were at, where it's like, oh, they're starting off on this new journey and it's confusing the people around them. They don't know where this is coming from. And so perhaps you're breaking free from like what the set plan has been for you, and you're doing something completely different, and maybe you even want to do something with like nature and the environment and animals, because that brings you peace, and you're not afraid to say, I'm taking a different step. And it seems like with door to value and financial flow, like you know what you're doing and it's going to bring prosperity. But I feel like people may just be like poking holes in like your plans, like mentally, like with these ideas, thinking that it's frivolous just because they're jealous that you have the opportunity to pivot when they may not. But yeah, there also may be someone who has like romantic interest in you, and because you're so busy, people may see you as like kind of hard to access in that way. Like you don't notice their advances, and that you may be someone who's seen as, because you're so front facing, that in your off moments you like being to yourself. You like your simple pleasures as well, and that your heart is kind of barred off here, and that perhaps you're in transit. So with Goddess of the Moon, I think people also see you as kind of, I don't know, there's something like you have like an internal knowing. You may be someone that's like considered like, oh, a good reader of people, so they don't like being too like in your face for too long, and if they don't have the best interest, because people do like to shroud themselves away from you, because I do think there's a lot of people that are around you, or at least that's how you're perceived, to have a lot of people around you at most times. So I don't think you're seen as someone who gets enough alone time. And so when people see you alone, they do try to respect that. I do think there is something about respect with this pile. People do hold you in high esteem. Yeah, like you have power, but it's not something that you like throw around. I don't even think you may consider yourself like you take it in that personally, but people may put upon you that you're on this pedestal, when I think your heart is rather simple. You do just like being outside or moving your body, traveling and things like that. And I think that's where you're kind of wanting to go. And people are noticing that about you, and they're like, I don't know why leave something that's so good. But yeah, group 4, hopefully that made sense. If it did, give me a like, a comment, and a subscribe, please. And hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.